Hey everyone, welcome to the Legend Fiction show. Today I am excited to be joined by Tom Epperson, somebody who actually lives kind of local to me. We connected over the Legend Haven convention last year, and we just chatted in the last week or so about Multivalent Press and his books and the projects that he's working on, and he absolutely fired my imagination, got me all excited. So we were here to talk a bit more about that and his really unique process, which maybe I've just been out of the game and everybody else has been talking about it, but I've never heard of it. Maybe you haven't either. And Tom's going to share a little bit more about that with us. So Tom, welcome to the show. Good to have you with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So before diving in, can you give a quick overview of who you are and how you've gone now full time with starting your own publishing house?
Yeah. So I'm like most writers, I've for years, decades, really, honestly, decades, been trying to figure out how I get my stories in front of readers. And, it took the longest time to get to a point where I felt like I had anything I wanted anyone to read. I kept producing these things and then I look at them and go, no, I'm not showing that to anybody. But, over the years, I got to where I thought, I would like to share that. And so currently we have 3 books that we've published. They're a trilogy. The Other Side of Dead is the name of the trilogy. Mm-hmm. The first book is Once to Die, and it's the one that's really the most out there. The second one has just been released. The third one is going to be released in a week or two. So, okay. So we're really just rolling these out, kind of struggling with the whole traditional publishing thing and all the barriers that are in the way of authors. It just felt like the big publishers, their number one goal in life is to be unapproachable, and they're just barrier after barrier after barrier to even get anyone to look at your stuff. And I just sort of became frustrated with it and decided, I'm just gonna do the indie route. Yeah. So then again, a few more years of development, and we came up with the idea of go ahead and create a publishing house. Mm-hmm. And between the 3 of us, my 2 sons and myself, we have a lot of different storylines going on. So they came up with the idea, they both have a math science background. They came up with the idea of multivalent press, meaning, there are so many different factions to it. And we're going to have a lot of different genres involved and all that. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where we're at.
Fantastic. So we've got a family business. All 3 of you are writers. I think you said all 3 of you are working on novels. For those who are watching on YouTube, you can see you've got like an audio editing stuff in the background. By the way, this is recorded on May the 4th, so May the 4th be with you. And you came up with you've gone all in now with this project. And pausing for a moment to talk about your novel before we get into this phenomenal system that you're, I don't know if it's pioneering or just working out, but let's take a moment to talk about the novel. The Other Side of Dead is the series, and your first novel has been raking in a number of very cool accolades and awards. So tell us a little bit more about the novel and the reception it's been getting.
Well, the novel is titled Once to Die, and of course it's built off of a scripture that says, "It is given man once to die, and then the judgment." That's where we got the title. Mm-hmm. And by the way, the title is the last thing we wrote. The book had all kinds of different titles as it was going along. We came up with that title after the book was completely finished. And I recommend that approach to anybody who's struggling with what to name your book. Mm-hmm. But it really, essentially, it's about a young man who, through a lot of things beyond his control, has spent his whole life on the streets being homeless. And he's evolved to the point where he's now 21 years old and he's caring for his father suffering from debilitating alcoholism. And, wow. And now, like in all good novels, many, many things come against the protagonist. Mm-hmm. And he ends up running afoul of both organized crime and the local gangs. And so he spends most of the book on the run, trying to stay alive. And so then the book goes into a pretty supernatural, almost paranormal type thing in the last half of the book. I think it's a fun read. It kind of imagines a lot of different things that nobody knows for sure. It's it's out of the mind of an author of,
Yeah. So
this
it's
might
a
be
fun
this might be how it
paranormal
is.
romp adventure thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. But it's received a couple of awards, and we were just kind of knocked over by that. We didn't really expect that, but we're super happy about it.
Hmm.
And that's helping us to launch not just the book and the series, but also the publishing company, because
Yeah.
it kind of is a proof of concept that we can take a work from just an idea to a
Hmm.
finished product and put it out there and actually compete with much bigger, more established houses, and we're really happy about that.
That's phenomenal. And one of the things that you described to me is that, like you're working hard on the novels, and but you've also said how impressed you were to actually get awards for them. Um, but what was so cool is that you outlined a system or a process for making it easier to write novels, because we can, especially first timers, can end up languishing, spending so much time over trying to make it perfect, make it the best it can be, trying to honor the source material or the message, and then you end up never getting it done, or whatever. And then you came at me last week with an idea that just blew me away. Can you share more of that and how you're tackling that?
I'm not exactly sure I know what you're even talking about, but
So the stretching, so outlining or structuring multiple series of novels, and then
hmm.
coming up with structures that could then bring in somebody else. Can you speak to
Okay. Yeah, so this is still kind of in the concept phase. We're just
Mhm.
exploring it, but I have this novel series that is well underway, and
Mhm.
it'll end up being two trilogies that have a dovetail, and we hope to get them all out in 2023. The I also have a sci-fi series that has two books written, and
Mhm.
of course I won't start marketing it till we have at least a trilogy, and it's kind of open ended. It could just continue to grow, and we could keep adding titles to that one.
Mhm.
But it's very different than the one that I'm currently marketing.
Mhm.
And then my son Kelly has a super ambitious project that he's working on. It's like 26 books already in
Wow.
conception. And my younger son is working on another series, and it's the same thing. It's very, very ambitious. So we
Mhm.
started talking about how do you do all of the marketing, all of the business side, and all of this creative stuff,
Mhm.
and get it actually done.
Yeah.
And we're not really inventing anything. We're pulling in ideas that we're finding from everywhere else. First thing, I read every book I could find on the art of writing, and
Mhm.
so we're stealing ideas from the masters left and right.
We had a slight break, a slight glitch, and we're back to recording. So I have a question here for you, Tom. You had mentioned the 20 to 50K group that you're in, and you're pulling together all kinds of ideas. And you've described how both of your sons have these incredibly ambitious 26 series, uh, that they want to write, or sub in other writers to collaborate with that process. And what immediately fascinated me about that was the idea of thinking long term with writing, as opposed to lavishing over a single product. If you're constantly thinking of huge, maybe longer term, I guess there could be some story based struggles that come with that. But there's also what I see an advantage, which is you now are focused more intently on getting a story done and getting it shipped so that you can continue moving on to the next one. And you gave me a really good reason for that, because if you can hit a certain number of novels, there's a possibility of being able to generate some real income. And you've now, I think you said you worked in a carpentry, what was it, a business, and you folded that to now focus on this full time. Can you speak a little bit more to that?
Yeah, before I forget, I want to mention the 20 books to 50K idea, where it just started out as this guy was an attorney. He wanted to retire to Mexico, so he just started figuring what would it take for me to make a living off my writing. And he came up with the idea if he had 20 titles out there, he could make
Mm-hmm.
enough money to live. And since then, he's gone on to partner with a lot of people, and he has just many, many, many titles out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the first time I've seen that. You're probably familiar with the series Chicken Soup for the Soul, right? Jack
Mm-hmm.
Canfield. Well,
Yeah.
he's co-authored with everybody in the world, and he sold 500 million books. through partnering. So I saw that. I saw James Patterson does it. He co-authors with people, and then you've got this 20 books to 50K guy who's proving that model can work in an indie setting. So all those things together kind of brought, that's what brought us to the point where we're like, I think this is what we want to try to do with our system. So currently it's still just the three of us. We've approached one author about maybe doing a little test run to see if, because it's very tricky, we're all creative artists, and like this is my story, we just get so caught up in it's mine and my precious, right? It's and we all get a little bit that way with our writing. But if you can kind of loosen up a little bit and open yourself up to the idea that maybe God can use more than one person to accomplish this goal, then all kinds of things become possible.
Yeah. What's your system then for making that work? Because partnering with another author over a novel, all of a sudden you can double with one author. With another author, you're tripling your ability to create content, which helps you to create more income. And if they're beginner indie authors like you, all of a sudden you're like piggybacking off of each other's energy, but also helping to establish them as an author. I just see so many fascinating benefits to this. So how are you thinking so far of bringing in authors?
Well, the way we're looking at it, it's exactly like you said. There are a lot of, like, I have been, up until this year, I've been an author that just wanted to get published. I wanted to get my work out there. And I finally have crossed that barrier. And now it seems silly to me that it seems so big, because it wasn't as big as I thought it would be. But I know that there are a lot of people that get caught in that, and they just can't get to that place where they've got their name on the cover of a book and they actually do have work out there that people are reading. And we thought this could be a way for a talented author who just, for whatever reason, hasn't quite been able to punch through that yet, to help them come along with us and just get it done. And sure, you start out as a co-author, but then there's nothing keeping you from doing your own independently, not just independently, but you could write your own title and maybe you publish it with us, or maybe you publish it with one of the big five. It doesn't matter. But the point is to get something done and get it out there and get over some of these hurdles.
And so what's the benefit to having 20 titles? Like, do you have a sense of why that's just a number that's thrown out there, or maybe there's metrics for it? What's the thinking though behind just putting out some volume?
This gentleman, he had one title out. He was working as an attorney. He had one title out, and he was making X number of dollars a day. Like, he was selling 10 copies a day or something. He had achieved that level. And he said, if I could do that, how many times would I have to do that to be able to live off of it? And he came up with the number 20. He didn't stop at 20. I can't remember. It's something like 1,000 titles he's at least co-authored or something now. It's crazy. But they have people in that group who are 7-figure authors who basically just followed that model. And Jack Canfield's one of the most successful writers of all time. 500 million copies is that's a lot of readers, And he's done it by just letting go a little bit of the possessiveness of it, and just partnering with people and allowing them to shine at the same time that he's getting his goals met. I think it's really a nice model. Fits very well with the Christian viewpoint of how you life. And it's yet to be proven. Our goal this year is to try to prove the concept that we can actually do it. We've proven we can put out a title that is at least of a quality that it can be on the same shelf with a traditionally published book and not be embarrassed. Our next thing is that we have to prove that we can make this partnership thing work, and we're working on that.
Yeah, well, like you said, it's a model that has been proven to work, and now it's just kind of your chance to get in there and figure it out for yourself, and as more of a smaller indie author. But so the idea for bringing in, what might that look like to partner with another author who's interested? You maybe vet a couple who feel like they might be the right kind of author to partner up for a specific book project. Like you mentioned, a sci-fi series you're writing, so you'll want a sci-fi kind of author. how are you breaking that down in terms of sharing the ideas with them, having them write into it? How are you handling that idea?
Well, it's in the making yet, but so far the system we've come up with is we're going to draw out a very nice outline for at least a part of a series. Maybe it's a trilogy, maybe it's 6, 8 books. It doesn't matter, whatever. But know where we're going with the story, so that everybody involved in the project knows where we're going, and
Mhm.
then break that down to a book, and then break the book down into scenes. Because really, the thing that I found that worked for me is I just write a bunch of scenes, and that's one way that I got over writer's block. Because if one scene is not working,
Mhm.
I just toss it aside and I go write something else. And I sidestep the whole writer's block. I haven't had writer's block in years
Wow.
because I
Wow.
just don't let it happen. I leave, and I have a whole talk I do on that, on how to defeat writer's block. But
Nice.
the the key to the thing is we would hand the potential co-author a very detailed outline of one scene. Here's a scene. It has a beginning, has a middle, has an end. Here are the 3 or 5 characters that are involved in it, and a synopsis of who this guy is, what's his backstory, so that they kind of know who they're writing for.
Mhm.
And then say, do a rough draft, 1,000 to 1,500 words,
Mhm.
and shoot it back to us. Don't try to polish it. Just just run through it. We'd like it to, you can run it through grammar check to some degree, get it
Yeah.
cleaned up a little bit, but we don't want you to polish it.
Mhm.
And then give it back to us, and then we'll look at that. And if it looks like, hey, this might be a guy we could work with, or a girl that we could work with, then we go on. Then we go on from there, and begin to explore. There's a lot to talk about. Like
Mhm.
everybody's everybody's interested in this because of the art, but there's a practical side. We all also have to make money and pay the bills. And so
Mhm.
we have to talk about all of that. What does it take to make it worthwhile for an author to work with us to get one of our titles out? And so what we're thinking at this point, it would be a short-term contract. It would be for one book,
Mhm.
and it would be everyone would be negotiated independently to meet the needs of that co-author and Multivalent Press
Mhm.
as a publishing company. Um, there are 2 ways you get paid off books. You get the front end and the back end, right? On
Mhm.
trad publishing, everybody's after this um, kind of signing bonus
Mhm.
money up front. But the reality of it is, in traditional publishing, very often that's the only check that person will ever get,
Mhm.
because by
Okay.
the time they have to pay back all the money that was spent marketing and all that stuff, then there's no money left at the end. So they get the big one advance check, and they throw
Mhm.
a party, and then they never make any money again.
Mhm.
And we want to try to come up with a model that's a little different. There's a little bit more money to spread around in the indie publishing side of things. And
Mhm.
we're not trying to be greedy about it. We're small. We want to be agile. We want to be competitive. And, we're writers. So we want this to work for writers. And
Mhm.
um, like one guy might say, well, I really need to be paid as I write the scenes. I need a little check every time I write a scene, even if it's small.
Mhm.
Okay, that's fine. But, and we have a way to do that.
Mhm.
But of course, if we have to do that all along the way, like
Mhm.
basically paying you by the hour, then obviously you're going to have a smaller percentage as a royalties 3 years from now.
Right.
And you just negotiate it
Yeah.
and figure
Okay.
out what works for everybody.
Okay. So it's per author kind of arrangement based on the needs, based on the situation. Fascinating. Okay. Um, and then you've got your own plans for marketing and for growth. And I think you mentioned you're taking some kind of a course, and all three of you are teaching yourselves and learning how to publish books and grow audiences and reach people and so on. So what's the vision for Multivalent in like a couple of years? Where are you hoping it'll be?
Well, the course that we're taking is called the School of Hard Knocks, and we're doing it through this series that we're publishing now. But we hired a consultant. I think one of the best people in the business, and I'll mention her name. New Shelves Books is the company, And Carrie at New Shelves Books has just been great for us. She's the one who engineered this entire process that we've used that has brought us so much success with this first series.
Mm-hmm.
And I would highly recommend her to everybody. She's expensive, but you pay for what you get, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, there's another side of that, and we've learned a lot from her.
Mm-hmm.
And she understands we're trying to create a publishing company, and we are going to be reusing those ideas a lot. Now, as well as it's gone with her, I can't even fathom a day when she wouldn't still be a part of our team some way, because she's so good. But at the same time, a lot of the steps are things that we know now how to do and when to do them. Timing is critical. That's the thing I learned from her. It's like a deck of cards. Every little thing has to happen at the right time. You have to do this 4 weeks in advance. You have to do that 8 weeks in advance. You have to do this other thing 6 months in advance of publication day. And if you don't get all those pieces in the right order at the right time, they won't happen. Like these awards that I'm getting now, we entered those contests back in January and February.
Okay.
And now they're being awarded, and they'll continue to be awarded through, like, a couple of them are in June, and there's a couple that don't happen until the end of 2023. Now, if I don't win anymore, I'm super happy. We've won 3 awards, and I'm not trying to be greedy about it, but that's how you have to do it. If you want to be in the running for those awards, you have to enter those contests very early. And some of them are a year in advance or something. So,
and the advice that you're working off of, or that she's giving you, it's, how do I say, is it like, it's not necessarily tactics or using hashtags. I mean, that's probably in there, but this is, it sounds like it's a level of bigger thinking of who are the players in the industry, who are out there already with established audiences that you can collaborate with or participate with. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, so she's got a great Rolodex of people, and like these people who do everything you can imagine, from ebook conversion to editing to people who do mailings. Like we did a giveaway the other day, and I just turned that over to her. I had to provide her with the finished manuscript several months ago, and it was put on the schedule. And then the other day, the trigger was pulled, and all of a sudden, people could download the book for free on Amazon. And it lasted for 5 days. And in that 5 days, we had 3,120 people download a free copy of the book. Well, that's a huge audience for me. I would have, I don't know that I could have ever gotten my reading in front of that many people that quickly without her help, and now I understand that's how you do it. But before that, I didn't know how you do it. Right. So there are people who do that. She set up a blog tour for me. There are people out there in the industry that you can interface with, and they'll help you, but you have to know how to do it, when to do it, and where to find them. And so that's some of the things. Yeah. Nothing that we're doing is exclusive to us. Anybody could do this stuff, but it's just that we've already jumped through a bunch of hoops, and we're saying, now we know where the hoops are. We know how high to jump. If you want to come along with us and do it, then you're welcome,
Brilliant. Do you envision Multivalent staying pretty close to the chest and moving into the future? It's primarily going to be a family-based kind of imprint or press, or do you intend to widen that and welcome other people?
No, we'll definitely have to expand the team. We already need to expand the team. We don't. I'm desperately trying to get these last 3 novels written, and now my time. I had 6 years to hone the first 3, and I have 6 months to do the last 3. It's not. I'm not. That's a lot of pressure. I'm not starting from scratch by any means. They're all in draft forms of various levels of completion, but it's just the pacing of it is very different. So I need to just sit and write for 20 hours a day, and I'm doing ebook conversions. I'm trying to learn how to do audio books. I'm doing tons of marketing stuff. Like we won that award yesterday or the day before, and I'm like, oh, that's great, we won another award. And then my son Bill said, you have to redo all the marketing graphics now. I'm like, you know? so,
Yeah.
so, it's just like, there's a lot of moving pieces to it. So would I love to be able to bring on a graphic artist that just does a lot of that stuff for us? Yes. Would I love to have somebody who manages putting some of these entries into contests out for us? Yes. I would love to have some people, and I've talked to Carrie about that all along the way, and she said, sure, you can do all that, but not yet. You've got to get the money flowing
Right.
first, and that just makes sense. Yeah. In terms of the size of the team on the creative side, there's no limit. I would love to have a very large group of artists that are working together and, co-authoring and putting out a lot of stuff. Currently, I have my 2 series, and I have an idea for another series, which could be at least 14 books that I haven't even started working on, other than just to write down some notes. And then, so that's 3 series for me. I know Kelly has a series of children's books and also this very complicated sci-fi thing. So we're already at like 6 different series. I've got a collection of Civil War poems that a great uncle or somebody like that left us a whole box of Civil War poems that he wrote after being wounded in the Civil War, and I want to put those out. Well, that's as far removed from my asteroid mining story as you can get, but I still want to put it out because it's a cool product. So that would have to go probably under maybe a completely different imprint or something. But there's just a lot of different directions we want to go.
What is the kind of author that you're looking for who's going to be a good partner with you and the team, the kind of thing you're trying to do? And I'm thinking, especially for my question, the kind of author where, like you said, you provide them with the sort of this template, the script, the outline for a scene or a chapter, and then they write into that. Maybe how old are they? Where are they in their writing adventures? What kind of person are you looking for?
Well, I think right now the only limiting factor that we're up is genre. So it would either be a fantasy / sci-fi type author that we'd be looking for, and they need to be accomplished enough that they can write a nice, clean scene that is readable, entertaining. They have to be able to understand how to build a story arc, let the scene begin, and then develop, and then conclude. And that's the only requirement at this point. We'd be interested in talking to just about anybody as long as they've fit at least those basic criteria.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, what you just described is the kind of people that we're trying to attract and meet with LegendFiction. So I hope some of our members come and check you out. If they do want to, where can they find you online? How can they reach you?
It's multivalentpress.com, and we've got one tab there that's for authors, I think, that they can go in and contact us. But we're trying to make it very easy to get a hold of us. We're very approachable. And if they have their own novel that they think it's very close to being done and they would like to just see about publishing it with us, we'd be open to talking about that also. But obviously we have limited resources, so we're not going to just say bring on any project but if we really believe in your project, then we'd talk very seriously about publishing somebody under our imprint.
Yeah. Last question. What kind of services do you plan on providing if you're going to be an imprint like that?
Well, so pretty much everything we're doing, we're going to use print on demand stuff because it just makes sense. We print through the Amazon printing system and the Ingram Spark system. So it's an indie printing type thing. Really more than anything, what we do is we're going to help a person through this process and kind of guide them along in getting from point A to point B to get their stuff done and on the shelves. We will, of course, be demanding that everything's very high quality. So editing is going to be a big part of that. And we'll want some, like, especially in the books we're involved in, we're going to want some control about where the story goes. And if someone else brought a different book, that'd be a little different. But I guess the main thing is just to make sure that the quality is high, much higher than what is maybe average in an independent setting, and then show them all the ins and outs of how you get out there as an independent book,
Yeah.
As opposed to just being in your shelf somewhere.
Yeah. Amazing. So you'll provide or help provide design, editing, things like proofreading, and then the publication, and then help with the marketing of it as well. And you're partnering with that author over the profits for that, which I think is phenomenal
Right.
for most of us who are just trying to figure it out and self-publish on our own.
Yeah, and we have the ability to put some finances into it. Like, we're not just going to
Yeah,
bankroll
amazing.
it to an unlimited degree, but of course there's a trade-off in that. If we pay a lot of money out of pocket, that all has to be repaid. And it's kind of funny because I've been a great critic of traditional publishing houses all along, and then as we're starting to figure out how to do this, I'm like, oh, that's why they demand that. That's why they demand that.
Okay.
You begin to understand a little bit more what the other side is, but I still think there's something to be said for being small and agile and not having a ton of overhead. And and honestly, as I understand it, in the trad side, they don't really do that much for you in terms of marketing. They expect you to bring that to the table, and we're no different than they are in that. We probably can be more help in terms of that than they can, except we can't pick up the phone and say, I need 6 feet of shelf space for Fred's new book. We can't do that, but they don't really do that for very many authors either.
But you're also,
Stephen King gets
yeah,
that.
wow, yeah, you're also, because you're also smaller and you're focusing on a lot of personal connection, creative collaboration, and then online digital stuff as well. So there's great opportunities to move a lot faster here. Well, hey, Tom, this was amazing. If people want to check you out, they can visit your website. Remember, it's multivalentpress.com. If an author wants to reach out to you, they can check out your book. Remind us the name again. Was it Once to Die?
Once to Die, and it's under a pen name, T.S. Epperson.
Okay. Which is on Kindle, and I've got a copy and I'm reading it and enjoying it so far. I think that it would be amazing to have you back to keep kind of following your journey, following what you're learning. And thanks again for being a wonderful support to what we're trying to build over at Legend Fiction. And I hope our authors go and check you out.
Yeah, we're great fans of Legend Fiction, and we had such a great time meeting some of the people in the weekend that we attended. And we're just, anything we can do to help Legend Fiction out, we're on board with it.